Hello, welcome back to the Singapore Property Show 2021, brought to you by MediaCore and our partners, 99 Group and top real estate agencies, PropNex, ERA, Huttons, Orange Tea, and SRI. Now, before I introduce our next speaker, now do remember, okay, this is our last or your last chance to win two $100 cash prizes for the day. Okay, so later on, when the link comes up, remember to register yourself for the lucky draw. Now, let's face the facts. Investment is a big word. When comparing new launches with resale properties, what are the factors which draw investors to these new launches? Is it location? Is that an important determiner of how great your property investment is? What are the perks of owning a property with a waterfront living lifestyle? Let Ismail Gafoor, CEO of PropNex, share his analysis on the 5 reasons why it still makes sense to buy a new launch property. Without further ado, here is Mr. Ismail Gafoor.
Hi, good afternoon. I know it's been a long day. Many of you have been tired. And I just request that for those of you who are tuning in, do me one big favor. I'm going to share something not heard before. But though they are just my thoughts, my opinions, I would like to encourage each and everyone who's listening out there to just chill other people to join in. It could be a loved one, it could be a friend, or it could be a client of yours if you're a real estate salesperson. Because the topic that we are going to talk about here is 5 reasons why it is still a good reason to buy new launch property. But the fact that when I say today I'm going to give you the 5 reasons to buy a new launch property, that does not mean I'm saying don't buy resale properties. No, probably if you ask me, there could be maybe another 5 reasons why people do consider resale properties as well. So we are not going to do a compare and try to say one is good than the other. But my objective is simple. This afternoon, I'm going to give it to you 5 good reasons that do justify when you buy a new launch, and what are some of the things that you need to take into consideration. That's really important. As usual, we flash a disclaimer, not because whatever I'm going to share is I'm going to just talk anyhow. Most of the slides and the data are well researched and as well as the source quoted. But however, it is only responsible that you do a bit of your due diligence based on your own needs and your credit assessment. Because whatever I'm talking, I hope there are thousands of you out there. It may not tailor, I'm not tailoring to each individual, but from a macro perspective of the real estate market. When you look at it, buying a property is indeed a big decision. And I can certainly understand that. In fact, if you look at the whole world, Singapore properties are amongst the most expensive. Even a public housing today is well above $500,000, and often you hear $1 million public housing. What more we are talking about new launches and as well as private properties. So the key thing here is this. What I want to be very certain here is this, to ensure that whatever you do, whether you buy or resale or new launches, it really doesn't matter. What is important, the investment that you're buying, does that suit your needs? And more importantly, whatever you put your money, does it give you that desired financial capital appreciation and freedom if that is one of your decisions in your investment? Because when you enter the market at the wrong time, with the wrong price, at the wrong location, for the wrong reason, you will really be very wrong. And that's something that we would want every one of you are listening out there to avoid. So one of the key things here is this. We always never encourage, I personally for one, never want anybody to invest in a property with a speculative mindset, with a very specific timeline that you say, I want to go in and I want to leave the market within 3 years. No, because sometimes we want to ride the wave. And an ideal time frame in terms of holding a property, in my view, will be anything 5 years and beyond. It can be 10 years if you have the ability and means and desire, but at least 5 years. That's one of the big important things. Let me just give you the 5 pointers that I'm going to highlight, but thereafter immediately I will turn on to other slides to elaborate in greater details. But this is a little bit of an overview, 5 reasons why buying new launches still makes sense. But as I said, I'm not going to tell all the reasons just using this slide. I'm going to justify some of these pointers through some data that I've researched over time. One of the key things here is we used to say here is developer stage up the price and you have a first mover advantage. Here this point, first mover stage up price. And I'm not going to dwell on this right now, but I've got some real example to explain it to you. Why new launch prices tend to go up in a better rate of capital appreciation as compared to resale prices, resale properties. Okay, so this is one of the key focus that we want to highlight as one of the reasons. But it is very obvious the second reason is the fresh lease. And you know, lease is very important. When you buy a brand new launch, you have a 99-year lease. And obviously, by the time it is TOP, probably you will have 95, 94, or 96, depending on how long the developer was able to complete the construction and hand the keys to you. So that is important because there are implications, especially if you buy a resale property with a lease decay. Because when the lease period drops beyond certain number of years, there are limitation or restrictions on the usage of your CPF funds and the bank's ability to finance the next purchaser. Number 3, one of the advantages why people really like about buying new launches is the idea about progressive payment scheme. And I'm going to share with you one slide how there are people hugely, in fact, taking advantage of buying a new launch, even though it is a second or their third property, without paying additional stamp duties by means of interest. That means they're buying a property with under one of their loved ones, for the loved ones, even though the property is under their name, and they choose to pay the payment over the 3 or 4 years built up construction time frame, and they avoid paying the additional stamp duty. So the whole idea is they save up or they reorganize the other funds and they pay it through the 3 or 4 years down the road. So progressive payment has got its advantages. Obviously, brand new facilities suited to modern needs, because if you buy an old property, you always need to be concerned about the electrical, the wiring, the conditions, the surrounding and the maintenance and all other things. And today we are talking about a lot of new buildings comes with really high touch, high concept, where lifestyle are totally different. So new developments do provide these opportunities. Finally, and this is a really hugely important, tapping into the transformation and growth. Actually, buying a new launch is you are buying one and waiting for the next 4 years while the transformation becomes clearer. Either it is a workforce or either it is the concept plan is being developed into many other new development and infrastructure. So much so, you take advantage by the time you collect the key and you stay there for a couple of years and you enjoy the benefit of a transformation. So these are the broad 5 points, but let me go and elaborate some of the key critical things that you need to be aware of. One of the key things we have known by now, you have heard many speakers from last week, and every one of us are saying there's a huge, strong demand. And even you're looking at it from here, in fact, the last 10 years average demand have been about anything between 10,559 units annually. Even a 20-year average has been something about 11,000. And then last 2 years, when we look at it, it's 9,009, 9,009, which is almost 10,000. But what is really surprised many of us here is such a very strong demand for the first 4 months, where we have transacted well above 4,700 units. So we are very certain this year we are going to cross all the numbers of the last 2-3 years. We will be more than 10,000 units. So let's see what are the things that is creating such a strong demand. And I've just tabulated some of the projects, especially I chose after the circuit breaker projects that were launched from August last year. Foret at Bukit Timah was the first one to be launched. And then when you look at it, you see, but not all products are about the same size, because there are some that is 100% sold, but on the other hand, it's only 120 units. While Foret with 398 units have sold 63%, Pentros 80%. And if we come to this year's launches, even though Normanton Park only shows about 44%, but in terms of absolute numbers are huge, 812, because this development got 1,862. But one product that really stood out to me here is this. Look at the Reef at King's Dock. Was just launched in January this year, and yet it attained 83%. Therefore, for this year so far, in terms of percentage, I would say for a development of mid-size, the Reef at King's Dock have performed exceptionally well. I would even dare say the best-selling project in terms of percentage for a mid and size development. Obviously, One North Eden did 85%, but we are talking about a development of only 165 units, relatively boutique in nature. Okay, so the key message I'm trying to tell you here is this, by showing this slide here, is this. What is driving the market? Why people are still really confident about buying new launches, knowing that the new launch prices are much higher than the resale properties. I'm going to give you some facts and figures. Remember, I told you of the 5 reasons, one of the key reasons here is this, the developer adopts a dollar averaging strategy to price. So usually what the developer does here is this, when he launches a development, he prices it very attractively at the launch month. In fact, for the first year, he also usually maintains a very attractive price. But there are also differences. There are some developers, I must say, who price it so attractively and they're happy to sell within 6 months or a year, 100%. But there are developers who may want to stage up the price and hold on to the development for over a period of 2-3 years. And as they attain 30%, 50%, 70%, or 80%, they keep increasing the price. Is it a good strategy for those people who entered the market earlier to buy the development? Definitely. Why? Developers are pushing the price. Okay, so this is something that we can definitely always enjoy. And many a time people do enjoy a paper capital appreciation even before the product or the development is TOP. I'll give you a couple of examples. Look at this particular slide. I deliberately choose a development that was just launched in 2017 after all the previous cooling measures that was introduced in 2013, 14, 15, all the TDSR. I want to take something that is quite current to give you an example. You see, when the developer launched in 2017, what was the price? $1,721 was the average prices when the development was launched in April. And then by the following year, it went up by more than $100. In fact, to be exact, it went up by $107. That means the remaining units were sold. And then moving forward, the following year, it went to $1,942. Then we are talking about another $114. Okay, from 1721, $107 increase, followed by another $114. Obviously, last year the prices got some stagnant and went down a bit because, you know, last year was pandemic and people were a bit concerned and so on. And also this development had sold a fair bit. Look at some of the remaining units, almost the tail end. Today we are talking about this year, 1,961. So this is what I meant by people who entered the market at the beginning at 1,721 on the first year. By the time the product TOP in 4 years down the road, the developers up the prices of the unsold units to more than $240. It's in a paper game. And one of the advantage I always realize here is this. When a product is TOP, there are many more buyers who are prepared to come and buy in because especially their bigger flats of 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom, some of the homeowner occupier purposes, they do not want to go and rent and they look for properties that are just TOP. And usually during TOP, there is a small premium where the price do appreciate. So this is one of the reasons why I say that the dollar averaging do make sense. Okay, and I'm really going to be give you a lot more statistics to prove my point. Look at this particular, I mean, this is exactly, in fact, the seaside residents now have fully been sold 841 units. And giving an example this year in February 11 versus April 22nd during the launch, and I choose the same stack, the same block, two different unit, and the price difference here is this $1,483, because it was slightly on the lower floor, but even then, now it's at $1,956. The paper appreciation is $483,000, 31%. So do you understand what I meant by people buy a new development, wait for the property price to also increase? And one of the reasons here is this, as it gets TOP'd, as the construction and as the transformation, and they're buying time while it appreciates and yet not paying the full mortgage obligations, which I will show it to you quickly in terms of how the progressive payments are. Excuse me. Now, just now we look at all the new launches. Now I'm just looking at an example of a resale property. You see, this is almost a similar trend. You will look at it. For the SAW residents, you see the first 4 years, we had the same thing. It was launched in year 2009. Next 4 years to 5 years, prices was an upward trend. So when you buy new launches, it is still upward trend. And then you look at it from the last 18 years, it goes to a stagnation. I'll tell you one of the reasons. Why? One of the reasons when you buy resale property as cheap it is in comparison to a new launch at the entry level, one of the things that you will find challenging here is this is what exactly happens. A person who buy the property as high as, let's say, $1,600 over, okay, or $1,700 per square foot, and you want to sell at $2,000 or $1,900. But don't forget that there were people who bought the same property where you bought 4 years ago from the developer as low as $1,081, and he is happy to sell at $1,005 or $1,006, and he's happy because from $1,000 to $1,006, he bought it for $1 million, he sell at 1.6 million, he still makes $600,000. And as long as there are earlier buyers who bought in that development at a lower price, and they are prepared to sell at this price, even though you enter the market and pay a high price, and you want to sell much higher, how is it possible? Because there are other willing sellers who are willing to sell at a lower price. That's why resale property generally tend not to move upward as much as a new launch, especially for the first 5 years. I hope you understand what am I trying to paint a picture, and this has been proven. You can speak to any of our PropNex salespeople because they have got the data information of almost every little project, or for that matter, you can speak to any of the salesperson of whichever agencies they have invited you, your clients. We are perfectly all right, but I'm talking from the point of understanding how it works. They probably would be able to guide to you, but I'm very certain all our salespeople are trained in these things. Give you another example. Casa Merah, another price stagnation sets in. Look at it from the launch time in 2007 at 664 to the next how many years? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, 1,186. And we are talking about a 78% increase. Okay, you can take this on any different cycle. You can take this into 20 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Just now I talked about the SAW resident was 2017. This is 2007. We are talking about showing an example of a product that is 10 years apart. It will again be the same. This is what I meant by the developer doing the dollar averaging and bringing up the price. Then what happened in the last 7 years? Again, it goes into a stagnation. So the person who bought it at 1,200 or 1,186 obviously desired to sell at 1,005, but you must understand there are probably 30 or 40% of the owners in that development bought it at 663 and they're happy to sell at 1,200. So this is a problem that when you buy a resale property. So when you buy a new launch, then your new launch also after some time will go into this stagnation. You must understand, you will never be new forever, right? From the time you bought and you TOP'd. So, but one of the advantage when you enter the new launch at a lower price, when you bought it at the first few or about a similar price, at least you know you don't have a competition of someone else pressing down the price, because you bought it together with the other buyers who paid about a similar price, and nobody is going to bring down the price. You follow me? You see, one of the key things in any new launches, even though you said, hey, Mr. Ismail, it doesn't make sense. New launches seems to be 30%, 20% more than resale next door, but the banker can attest and support the valuation. But for a resale, it seems to be cheaper. And even though the owner wants to sell higher, the banker is not prepared to give you that valuation, because there are other owners who are prepared to sell at a lower price. So I hope I would have nailed this point as much as clear of the 5 reasons. The second reason is new launch properties give you that safeguard as part of the capital appreciation, and nobody is going to thumb down your price. Okay, so this is the key point. Good. So I killed 2 things. Did I? I'm not so sure. That's the 2 points I did mention. Because new launch, fresh 99-year lease. And that's hugely important, okay? One of the key things here is this. The fact that it is 99 at the end of a 99-year period, it goes back to the state, but that's perfectly okay. Yep. But what is important here is this. A brand new development, if you buy, you have a fresh lease and you can stay there for 5 years, or you want to stay there for 10 years, or you can rent it out for 10 years because you want to time the market right. And yet there's a balance of 90 or 85 or 80 years, and you can always sell to another person and he will be there he's prepared to pay, the bank is prepared to value it high because of the balance lease. Imagine you buying a resale property where you are the second owner or third owner, or doesn't matter, and the balance lease is only 75 years. That means you bought from someone who bought it and stayed there for 20 years because the developer took 5 years to hand over the key. So 25 years gone, balance is 75, and you stay there for another 15 years. And then you think that you want to maybe downsize, upsize, or maybe you want to cash out, and the balance lease is only 60 years. 59 years worse still. You know, there are certain rules currently. Any development that is below 60 years, balance lease, there are certain restrictions in the usage of your amount of CPF, and the bank will be concerned. Can you imagine someone who's going to buy a property, balance 59-year lease, and he wants to take a 30-year loan? The bank will be concerned, because you know why? After 30 years, I give you a loan, and this guy, for whatever reason, after 20 years, you lost his job and not willing to pay, and whether the bank take back the property, can they take back their money? Because as the lease drop, decay of lease, the value may not go up much higher. It may even go downwards. So these are some of the concerns. So this is one thing that I'm also trying to say. And obviously, in terms of cost of maintenance and all other things, a new launch will give you a peace of mind. Okay. So this is something that a lot of people do prefer a new launch. Okay. So I've made all these things. And one of the key things here is some people do also say to me, Mr. Ismail, resale, I can always unblock. There's so many people who did an unblock and made a huge killing. But I want to tell you, you can buy resale. I'm not saying that you don't buy resale, but because that's not my topic today. Okay. So if you want, you follow me and so on. There are other topics that we can talk and share with you. But the point here is this: I would never suggest anybody buy a resale property betting on an en bloc will take place within the next 5 years or next cycle. Because for an en bloc to take place, there are huge number of considerations, whether the current plot ratio is there a restriction of height, and whether are the owners 80% collectively agreeing to the reserve price, and what things have. And there are many developments who have gone through en bloc exercise and trying to put the property development in the market. 3 attempts, 4 attempts, fail, until some of the owners are 70 years, 75 years. And we did one en bloc without naming the thing from the time, and we successfully eventually sold after almost 4 or 5 attempts by many other people. And what it took was, by the time when we got the appointed and by the time we successfully sold, within that 6 months, 4 of the proprietors passed away. Okay, then you can imagine how old this estate was. People can't even realize waiting to enjoy this en bloc. So that should not be the consideration. Let me go on to the next point. We talk about progressive payment scheme for new launches. You buy a resale, you straight away have to pay full 100%. Either you shift in, you can rent out, you can collect rent. It has got its own advantages. I'm not saying that it's no good, but you need to be only aware of all other points I mentioned earlier about in terms of lease decay and so on. But now coming back to the progressive payment scheme. As it is, you just need to pay 5%, and then you need to pay 15% when you sign the sale and purchase agreement, and all these things will take place within the first 8 weeks to 2 months. And thereafter, your payment will be once the development foundation work is done, the partition wall. Can you imagine if you go and buy a unit at the 35th floor, how can your partition wall of your floor level must come up, Therefore, you only pay 5%, 15% foundation work, 10%, and take another 2 years, you don't need to pay. You don't need to pay anything. Therefore, you can keep the money, or you wait to save, or you only pay it later, your installment, whatever it is. So this is why some people do okay? They want to reorganize maybe of the inheritance money coming in, or reorganize the portfolio, or the business, or the dividend, or whatever it is. Okay, progressively you pay over a period of time. Okay, even upon TOP, you pay another 25%. That means when you collect the keys, and the balance will be the completion date. I'm not going to go into the details. Okay, one of the key things why new launches really stands out here is this. In today's norm, we are talking about modern facilities, and there's a huge demand from a tenant perspective. As Singapore become a very tech-savvy nation, and as well as you look at a lot of global and especially mainland China, all the big tech firms establish their headquarters. And many of these well-to-do people who are paid reasonably well, and they're all very tech savvy and also work from home and so on. You need a property that is really well connected in terms of all modern age. And that's why the modern design and the architectural forms, the lifestyles, hugely is a plus point. Okay, so that's one of the key things. We are talking about, people are really now talking about more greeneries being placed. Yep, a sustainability kind of concept. Do we save and the earth? And so many kind of things, built-in study, flexible layout, and so on, how you can just convert a study, and then yet it could be a kitchen. So many, a spacious living, smart home is what people want. And this is something in many of the older estates, it was not planned for. Even though you try to do, but it is not a holistic approach. Okay. And then I nailed the most important part before I give you a lot more other details. So we are talking about a transformation and a growth story. One of the key things that drive new launches, this is the point. Of all the points that I mentioned, yes, they are important. The fifth reason is ultimate. Transformation and the growth story. Okay. And there are many new developments that have done hugely well. There are many, either is it a Woodlands Regional Center, or is it a Paya Lebar area, or is it a Punggol Digital District? But of all the many small things that has the notes of transformation that have been talked about, one of the biggest things that was really mentioned during the National Day rally by our Prime Minister was the Greater Southern Waterfront. The future close to CBD and a lifestyle and waterfront living, with really connecting in terms of greeneries, lifestyle, work, play, home. And that is huge. So people would want to gain from the development of the infrastructure and transformation. So that's why sometimes people do buy new launches riding on the transformations. The MRT, the doorsteps, or the workforce. Why this is so important, my friends? Let me give you a message. One of the key things of capital appreciation, hear me please, capital appreciation is a byproduct of rental yield. Sound complicated? No. Let me make it much more easier. If you buy a property for 1.5 million and you get rent $3,000, just for hypothetical example. You follow me? You bought it at 1.5 million, and then you get $3,000 rental. 10 years later, you desire to sell at 2.5 million, which is almost 60% more. But the rent has only gone up from 3,000 to 3,003. How much the rent has gone up? 10%. How much you desire to sell? 50% more. Has that got any logic? You follow me? This is important argument. Why I say that? Therefore, this is why I said all capital appreciation from 1.5 to 2.5 is a byproduct of rental yield. Because when you invested at 1.5 million, you did your computation, the rental is $3,000, therefore it gives me 36,000 annual and the return on the yield is 2.4%. For whatever reasons you decided to go on based on this hypothetical example. But then you want to sell at 2.5 million, 2.2 million, but the rent did not go up. The other buyer will also do the same computation. How can he buy 2.5 million and the rent is 3,300 and it is barely 40,000 and therefore his yield is so low? You get me? So therefore, if you buy a development and you want to sell higher capital appreciation, what must take place? The rent must go up. Agree? So if the rent from 3,000 goes up to 4,000, $1,000 more, and therefore 4,000 times 12 you annualize is 48,000, and therefore it justifies even at 2 million, 48,000 is 2.4%, same as the guy who bought it at 1.5. You follow me? So that's why transformation become key. Why key? When the area transform, the lifestyle, the connectivity, there are people prepared to pay a higher rent because a new workforce is being created. Follow me? Okay, so yeah, I'm worried about my time. Always they give me warning. Every time they give me warning, never mind, because let me just speed up my thing. Okay, so positive transformation may aid capital value. That was all the example I was just trying to let you know. Okay. One of the key things, if you notice some of the examples that is displayed, the reef at King's Dock is in the greater southern waterfront. And you remember the development I said, the best selling big development, or at least medium to big, more than 400 units, was the best selling for this year, 83%. Why then? Because simply it is in, not around, not outside, it's nearby. No, it is in the greater southern waterfront and people see the value in it. Wow. So there is in the future upside story. Not only a story, but a realistically can happen, may happen. Okay. So obviously there have been others, people have been talking about the Midtown Modern or Link, but Link has been 100% sold because of the connectivity of the MRT and Bukit Timah transformation. Okay. So this is what I meant by positive transformation may aid capital value. And then you will also have to take a look the dwindling stock of the unsold units. From the 36,000 2 years ago to 21,000, and I'm absolutely certain as I'm talking to you right now, it's below 20,000. Why? These results are only as of end of first quarter. And April and May numbers, April only alone got 1,200. Therefore, if I minus 1,002, is only 20,004. And May we have closed more. So it is below 20,000 by the time the next quarter results come out. So you are having the unsold units in the pipeline less than 20,000. And you know at the start of the slide that when I show it to you, the 10-year average or 20-year average is 10,000 to 10,500. Today's supply may not even last the next 2 years. And that's why the market is resilient and property prices are still positive. I just want to highlight here something that is very interesting that for you to see. I just want to nail this. Okay, for those of you who are listening, just hear me this, Okay, what? Let me put on my spec because this seems to be, the slide seems to be a bit busy, but it's also think that this is an important slide. What am I trying to say here is this. No doubt there is a price gap of 46.5% between the resale and the new launches. It is. So if you want to buy resale, it's cheaper. But this is on average price, but location to location differ. But one of the key things it has been proven is what I highlighted. You take the period of the last 10 years. I took from 2011 to 2021, a 10 years period. What have we witnessed, my friend? The new launches on average has appreciated 59.2%. While I'm talking about the whole island right of Singapore, the resale property have also gone up, keeping pace with inflation, cost, demand, and so on, but it has only gone up by 26.9%. So the new launches have gone more than double in terms of capital appreciation. Even at the entry level, you paid a higher price. So this is some of the things that you need to be aware. So does new launches still make sense? Because of all the examples that I told you, and this has been proven over the last umpteen years for you to be aware of. Okay, another reason why property prices are expected to remain strong. And I really want all of you listeners to stay, because immediately after I finish this, somebody else is going to give you something so exciting that I think some of you may not be able to sleep tonight. Not about my talk, about a product. Please keep an open mind. Whether you're keen or not keen, it is secondary. Learning why this is a world-class development. I will let the other person speak, but please stay on, okay? So having said that, the point that I'm trying to highlight here is this. This was just launched on just last week. Last week, that's why the award date officially they haven't awarded, but it was already announced. 15 bidders came, developers for Ang Mo Kio, at a land bid price of $1,118. And then you talk about May 21st, May this year, 2021, this is, okay? Northumberland Road, Farrer, near Theka. And you know what was the per square foot? 1,129, my friends. If Ang Mo Kio, which is on the OCR outside the central region, the developer have to pay $1,118. Of Farrer, people have to pay $1,129. What will be the selling prices of this development? It will be 2,000, 1,009 to 2,000. The smaller units may be even more than 2,000. Yeah, so that's the point. So you already know, because of the pipeline dropping, developers are buying now at a higher price per square foot, and this development will only be launched 1 year later. Are the prices going to be any lower than today? It's not possible. Yep, that's how price support in terms of its resiliency. Okay, just this is a very quick understanding of, yes, in terms of new launches, the average transacted price seems to be lower, 1.66 million, while the private resale seems to be higher, 1.77 million. Why is the difference between these two here is this? Hey, Mr. Ismail, you said new launches per square foot is so much higher, 46%. Private resale is lower, and yet the quantum of resale is higher. Well, logic. The logic is a lot of people who buy resale are for their home owner, occupier, family. They buy big houses. So the quantum is bigger. But new launches, there are a lot of people who buy 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedrooms, investment and things like that and so on. That's why the quantum overall on average seems to be lower. This is overall statistics. Huh? Therefore, my friend, this year, yes, it will exceed 10,000. You like or you don't like, I'm absolutely certain. Whether you tell me there's a restriction, there will be another circuit breaker, really, because people are getting used to the new norm. And therefore, what's important here is this, you do your sums, okay? Waiting for prices to drop, if you ever choose to enter the real estate market, it's not going to happen. Not likely going to happen, okay? So, my last slide. Let me just piece everything before I hand over to the next speaker. Key consideration of a good property investment. Number one, location. Does it matter? Absolutely it matters. A location that not only Singaporeans are excited, but the population of the world is excited. It could be people from other ASEAN countries, from Indonesia, the high net worth or the rich, or even the middle high, the Chinese market, and for that matter, any part of Asia, the India, Malaysia, and as well as you have the whole global. Singapore is a city and it is in a global city. So location matters when you look at an investment, okay? And number two, entry price. Why entry price is huge? If you pay a high entry price, and if there's any correction, it takes a long time to recover. And where do you make your money? So it is always better for you to enter a development where you pay the similar price to all the people who bought it during the launch time, not too high. If somebody bought it at 2,300, 2,400, and you pay 2,350 or 2,450, $50 to $100 more, it's still okay. But you are holding on because of the developer's dollar averaging and the first 5 years price keep moving up, you will benefit. But at the entry level itself, you enter at the peak, you will have a disadvantage, okay? Next point, rentability and rental yield. This is definitely important, really important. Remember, I already said, all capital appreciation is a byproduct of rental yield. You can buy a cheap product. You can buy a resale that is 40% or 30% cheaper in terms of per square foot and a quantum. Is it rentable? When your development is not rentable, you are in trouble. Yep. And that's why it is so important that the rentability and the rental yield are really something that you have to look out for. Therefore, if you're buying a development, and that's why I'm not because I'm trying to be try oversell anything, please. I mean, as a CEO of a company and as a speaker here, I'm saying there are many products that you can choose. But I want you to just listen to the next product because that is the only one of a kind in Singapore. Would you imagine a swimming pool on a floating dock? That means your whole swimming pool can float. And we're talking about 50-meter pool. A waterfront living. Does that excite you? Is it possible? And it is the first and the only in Singapore. So it's a different, and yet you can very calmly walk to the MRT. And yet it is part of the future transformation. Everything encompassing, there is one product available. And all I want to say here is this. They already tell me they have two bouncers right in front of me. You can't see them. One is staring at me, say you stop, or he's going to bring me out. Unless I'm prepared to answer the question and answers. So what am I going to do here is I'm going to stop here. I think I've done my good part of my presentation. Let me see. There are many people who may have asked your questions. 4:30, let me refresh. Okay, wow. My goodness. They want to bring me out, Ken, because I cannot answer any question. Yeah, my goodness. Okay, so I don't think I would be able to answer all the questions. There's one question, but I don't think I will have so much of time. But Jean, you asked a question. What are the pros and cons of buying in trust for your kid? Is it a complicated process? Not at all. So smooth. There's no complication. But the only complication is how deep is your pocket? Is it deep, 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 Ken? Because when you buy in trust for your kids, you have a huge savings in terms of stamp duty, but you can't get a bank loan. Everything has to be cash. If you're buying $1 million property, you know progressive payment. As long as you can get your funds in some other sources or you reorganize your whatever portfolio, and as long as you pay cash, no issue. It is not complicated, but there's certain things that you may need to be aware. Believe me, my salespeople are really well trained in this. They can explain to you there are certain things that you need to be aware of, but it is not complicated. There are a couple of new launches next to highway. Does the highway noise pose a problem for future exit? Yes and no. Because today in the modern development, they have double glaze and what, and I've seen development that you go there, right, it's in an expressway, you are inside, and as long as you don't open the window, it is not. I think what is more important, actually it's all a preference of individual. View, unblock. But if you say, if the development that you buy and there's a huge noise pollution and it is not being able to screen that off, yes, some people will not like. Therefore, if you go, you look at the development, if you think noise has been a concern and a highway, first option, don't buy a particular stack, buy the development, but you can choose not to buy one that is facing the highway if you're concerned. Second, even if it is facing, look at the development specs. Have they catered into noise reduction, screening, double glaze, and many other things? Today, most people, put it this, 90% of Singaporeans don't open the window these days. Why? They go to work, they come back, it's closed, they're on the aircon, it's already the evening, close the curtain, and once in a while, on Saturday, Sunday, they open. When the traffic is also probably, so you need to consider these things. Okay, well, I think there are some specific questions about, do you see the Bidadari development to impact the private condos in the area? But I will not going to be so specific because they already say you please get out because today is the last day and the last program. But I will just go back and fall back to the earlier example of all form of a transformation. You need to understand what the new value add it gives. Looks like I got more time while you all need to, the technical crew need to sort out something, right? Good. Okay, I will do. I'll take on more questions. Okay. Let's see. What is that? Will there be a situation where developer gives a huge discount to sell off the remaining units to avoid the incurring ABSD at the end of 5-year land purchase? A very thought through process question. I mean, what you're asking here is, you know, developers by and large have got 5 years from the time he bought the land to sell. If he failed to do that, he will be subjected to additional stamp duty that are huge. But so far, what we have witnessed is not happening. Why? Look at some of even the big mega development of more than 1,000 units. Park Esta, 1,400 units. 99% sold. Look at Singapore's biggest development, Treasure at Tampines. 2,300 units. 85% sold. And they still got 2 more years to sell. Yep. Look at Reef at King's Dock. 400 over units. Launched this year. Not even 4 months, 5 months. 83% sold. Remember just now I saw one slide because I'm not going to go back because of time. The thing that you need to monitor, whatever you say can be real if the stock, the supply is a mismatch. That means the unsold units are huge while the demand for thing is weak, and therefore the developer not being able to sell. What they may likely end up doing is to maybe lelong or sell at a loss, and will that impact? Generally, this is something not happening in Singapore because we are land scarce and the government do control and maintain in terms of supply. We are not having a glut and Singapore demand is strong. And I think the market will remain resilient after the phase 2 of the circuit breaker. I may not even be surprised. There will be more interest from foreign buyers and investors. You know why? Singapore have proven, in fact, it was rated and ranked as in the world the #1 country to stay. And this is what it was proven during the pandemic in terms of the way the government managed the safety of the people. Good. Okay, I know they said, hey, you get out because they settled their problem. They asked me to go. Fine. Let me just highlight. One last question. Does it mean generally should sell just after TOP? Okay, another question. People who have asked me. What am I trying to say here is this. It is your call as long as you buy a property and you have fulfilled the 3 years obligation, so that I don't want you to be subjected to seller stamp duty. But if you think there's a good price and you have achieved a capital appreciation, is still okay. And I think even if it is not the 3 year, the 4th year, the 5th year, the 6th year is still okay. Because the fact that you bought it at the earlier time, even though after the 5th, 6th year, because you pay at a lower price and it is developer stage up, you're not going to lose. But you also have to need to monitor, even if it is not the 3rd year, the 4th, 5th year, if there's a stagnation start to creep in, then you want to ask a question. Is my dollar working harder? Is my investment giving me better return? Has it come to a place that it starts to stagnate and plateaus? Maybe it's a time you can exit. It could be 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year, 6th year, really doesn't matter. Ladies and gentlemen, I must say, it's time for me to leave. It has been a joy for me to talk to you last week. And this week, it is said that I will not be speaking to you tomorrow when it's a closure of SPS. It is as an inaugural partner together with MediaCorp at 99. I really feel privileged to bring in this program together with other agencies for the benefit of consumers. With that, stay on and see a world-class development in Singapore as I hand over to the next speaker.
Hi, thank you, Ismail, for allowing me to continue on your behalf. Today, I will be talking about the Reef at King's Dock, okay, a world-class development developed by a world-class development that is actually located at Keppel Bay. Okay, so today we'll be talking a little bit more about the past, the future, the present, the Greater Southern Waterfront transformation, and also the price versus the value so as well. Okay. So the past is behind, learn from it. As what Ismail actually mentioned about, the past in the sense the price of appreciation has gone up also as well. The future is ahead, prepare for it, and the present is here. So we need to live it also at this moment. Okay, so let's talk about the past. In the past, Keppel Bay itself from the 1960s to the 1980s, right? Singapore, this was actually the area where Singapore started its global presence to the rest of the world, and how Singapore has actually progressed onwards into a world-class port. And until today, Singapore is already known worldwide as one of the busiest ports in the world. Okay. In August 1819, a little bit of the history. In August 1819, the discovery of New Harbour, okay, was founded by the first resident of Singapore, Sir William Farquhar, who spotted the orang lawa and saw in these waters a new harbour. Okay, followed by another person, Sir Henry Keppel, who this place is actually named after him. This person actually discovered the deep waters of Keppel and actually realized that this is a good place whereby ships can actually dock and actually do the repairs also as well. So with that also with that, okay, this place was actually named after him as Sir Captain Henry Keppel, okay, came back in 1900 at 92 years old to actually to visit Singapore after the dock was actually all built during that colonial days. Okay, and now at the same time, it was being renamed as a new harbour at Keppel in view of its contributions to Keppel Bay. Okay, so we have a total of 108 years of rich heritage in King's Dock. Okay, in 1859, the dock number 1 was actually built. In 1870, dock number 2 was actually built, which is actually Caribbean at Keppel Bay. Okay, in 1900s, Keppel Bay saw its golden age also as well. In 1913, Singapore announced to the world the King's Dock, the largest dock east of the Suez. In those days, it was a very, very big deal. Okay, second largest dock in the world when it opened, took over 4.5 years to construct. Okay, used a total of 203,000 tons of concrete. That's a lot of concrete. In 1956, the Queen's Dock was actually built, okay, to keep up with the overwhelming influx of ships. Then Singapore had also become one of the busiest ports in the world at that point in time. Okay, so looking at the future, evolved from a busy shipyard to a luxurious hideaway at the fringe of the city center. That's what we are seeing. Luxurious waterfront condominiums based on the very grounds where seamen once stood. The docks of the past century have blended themselves into modern Singapore. This is what we actually future we will see. Okay, and the master developer, the master architect, and the urban planner, right, this is actually jointly developed by two powerhouses, Mapletree and Keppel Land, two very, very strong developers in Singapore, right? And KCAP Architects and the planners are actually an urban planner who is actually very specialized in architecture, urban design, and landscape design. Okay, so they are actually selected is because of a very simple fact is they are very good at the development of sustainable living environments. Okay, with buildings are public spaces that enliven and renew the cities. Okay, and they're actually from Netherlands. Okay, DCA Architect, okay, is a local architect that is actually what we call, they are actually curating Keppel Bay. They are the ones that have been developing Keppel Bay since almost more than 10 years ago. Okay, they've been taking care of Keppel Bay development in this area. Okay, and not to forget, we've got Grant Associates, who is also responsible for the landscaping of the development, and they are also the ones that are actually responsible, to develop our Gardens by the Bay and also the upcoming 600 hectares of Sentosa as well. Okay, so a location has reached in history for more than 200 years. So transformation is going beyond change as what we are seeing today, right? So Keppel Club redevelopment of the whole place, okay, with the moving of Keppel Club itself, we're expecting to see at least about 9,000 household units that's coming into Keppel area, okay? Next moment, we also have got Pasir Panjang Power Up Future Play Destination, whereby the government is actually calling the tender for people to come up with all the different kind of proposals in this area. This is going to be a location which is going to be very much more live, work, and play location. It's not just, so in future, the Greater Southern Waterfront transformation in this area is not just all about developments, it's not just all about offices, but it's a mixture of almost live, work, and play offices. Everything is going to be there. It's going to be a very lifestyle, recreation location, which we have not seen very much in Singapore, the major transformation that's going to happen. And this is going to be one of the biggest transformations in the history of Singapore that we're expecting to see in the years ahead. Okay. One more thing is also the port is actually going to be relocated also as well. All the way, Pasir Panjang terminals will move by 2040, and that is going to free up 600 hectares of waterfront land. Tanjong Pagar, Keppel, and Brani terminals will move by 2027, and that's going to free up another 325 hectares of waterfront land as well. So this is going to be major, and every of these port activities will be moved all the way to Tuas Mega Port. Okay, and all this will complete by 2040. Okay. Okay, Tanjong Pagar terminal is about 80 hectares or so as well. But the good thing is the relocation is also well ahead of the City Port's lease expiry of 2027, which means PSA is already more or less quite ready to hand over the 80-hectare site back to URA earlier than expected of 2027, which means the developments may actually happen even earlier. Okay, and also we have got the integrated resort 2.0 that's coming up. We've got the Minion Park, and we also have got a Super Nintendo World that's actually coming in. So in future itself, we actually have more than just a resort world. We have a lot more than just MBS. We're going to have another 2 more areas that's going to be coming up. And Brani is going to transform into something that's totally very different from what you're actually seeing today right now. So the Sentosa of today is going to be very different from what we're going to see in future. So moving forward in future as well, you can actually see a major key transformation. So what we're seeing in that area is only VivoCity, Harbourfront, and of course, the completion MRT also, which I'll come to that later. But moving forward in future, in the next 10 to 15 years, we can expect key major transformations that will transform the whole of the Greater Southern Waterfront that's very different from what we are seeing today. Okay, the Circle Line is also running parallel to the Greater Southern Waterfront transformation also as well. As we can see from this particular map, we can see the transformation, we can see that the Circle Line is actually along the Greater Southern Waterfront. So that means in future, the major key infrastructure that we are seeing right now is already complementing the future as what we're expecting to see that's going to be happening also as well. Because if you don't have the major infrastructure in place to get people to move around, it becomes difficult. But today, we have got the MRT line is more or less already. And moving forward in future, in 2025, the Circle Line will complete the loop. So as to keep up to the name, Circle Line. So we're going to have the 3 stations that will close up the loop, and that will be completed. And that's why the future is really coming towards to us very, very soon. And it's just in 4 years' time, we're going to see the key major transformation of the Greater Southern Waterfront taking its shape. Okay, Marina South is also expecting to see a very, very key major change also as well. And also more housing areas is also being planned for the Marina Bay area and the CBD. So this is also part of the Greater Southern Waterfront. And the Greater Southern Waterfront whole plan is about 30 kilometers of coastal land. So this is also part of it. So we actually have got the east and to the west also as well. And the reef at King's Dock happens to be right in the smack in the center, and is really not outside, not away, but we're actually right in the middle and right in the center of the Greater Southern Waterfront. Okay, the Sentosa, Brani, master plan, everything, all this also transform as per mentioned earlier also as well. Right, and so the Greater Southern Waterfront, these are all the key changes we're expecting to see. 6 times the size of Marina Bay. That is something going to be very huge. And this is going to be taking at least about all the way, it will last from now all the way to 2040. So as an early mover advantage, moving in right now, as what Ismail has mentioned earlier, it's always good to come in earlier at this current moment and also at the most prime location. One more key fact to actually take note of is this is currently the only residential development that is using the address Harbourfront Avenue. And I think in the report that we've seen before, right, in residential addresses that usually uses the word Harbourfront tend to actually hold its value a lot more better compared to other projects also as well. Okay, the GSW timeline, okay, starting all the way from 2019, okay, we're actually seeing in terms of the, I'm sorry, I can't see it. Okay, the release of the plans, everything that's over here. And we can see that in terms of the changes all the way from 2009 all the way to 2040, These are all the changes we're expecting to see. And all these are actually set inside in terms of what actually the government has actually got the plans also in place also as well. And we can see that the launch of the reef at King's Dock is at January this year. Okay, so moving forward, okay, Keppel Club will actually be returned in 2021. Also at the same time, also Sentosa Brani, everything also will actually, I'm sorry, I can't really see it, so it's a bit too small. The phase 1 in 2022, okay, will actually be completed also as well. And also, you need to move forward. Yeah. So also at the same time, the possible first GLS probably will come out in 2023 once the golf course has actually been returned back to the country, to the state. And TOP of Reef or King's Dock will be in 2025. Okay, that will also be in line with the Circle Line completion. Okay, so the next thing is also the possible GLS site on Keppel Club. It will be in 2026. Okay, and also the thing is the continued development of the 9,000 homes at Keppel Club will actually continue onwards from there. And the return of the CD terminals will happen in 2027, as mentioned earlier, right? But the terminals may actually return earlier because PSA is already more or less ready to actually hand over earlier also, so because they've actually moved all the whatever port equipment, everything has been moved away. And return of the Pasir Panjang terminal will actually take place in 2040, and that's where everything will actually, all the port activities will actually be moved to the Tuas Mega Port all the way in Jurong. Okay, transformation, as what Ismail has actually mentioned earlier, it will always bring about in the appreciation of price. And every time whenever there's an announcement or some key transformation news, right, it always helps to actually to get the prices up. If you can see from the chart over here, this is talking about in terms of Jurong itself. Once the very moment the government announced the Jurong Lake District plans, we can actually see that the prices actually shoot up all the way from approximately about 400 plus, all the way has gone all the way to about 1,000, all the way to about 1,500 plus. Okay, sorry, my eyesight not so good today. Right. So next thing is also the Woodlands itself. Also, we're actually seeing in terms of prices. The very moment they mentioned URA unveiled the plans about the North region, we also saw the prices actually going all the way up also as well. So in Greater Southern Waterfront, we're also expecting to see the same thing that's going to be happening very soon also as well. So now what do we have? The present, okay? And the future depends on what we do in the present. This is a quote by Mahatma Gandhi, okay? And the reef at King's Dock, on day one itself, okay, more than 90% of the 300 units that was actually released was actually sold. Why is this so? Okay, let me bring you through and show you. This is exactly how the whole site plan actually looks like. Okay, has got a particular theme. Okay, and also the colors are what we are seeing in this building. In the whole project itself is very much more of we've got silver, we've got bronze, we've got gold, and we also have got graphite colors and everything. So this is exactly how the spread out everything will look like. So almost every fronting over there, we actually have got different parts of the views. Okay, some will have the cable car view, some will have the view of the bay, some will actually have the view of the dock also as well. Okay, so with more than 83% that has been sold as of today, as per what was mentioned by Ismail, there's really got something that why people are actually seeing this project as fantastic. Now, this is actually also one of the first Singapore's first floating deck in the residential development as what we can see. Okay, and this floating deck itself consists of an Olympic length pool, a splash pool for kids, a rejuvenation pool for ultimate relaxation. Now, just imagine yourself sitting on the deck on a lazy Sunday afternoon, enjoying the sea breeze, a small, slight, gentle sea breeze that's coming in from the bay. Now, that is something that you'll become the envy of your opposite project, of the people who are actually living around there also as well. Something that's very unique, and you're the only project itself, that has actually got this floating deck itself. There's something that's very unique, that's very different also as well. So you got no worries, you don't have to worry very much about the maintenance because it's actually made of concrete, and concrete requires minimal maintenance as well. Okay? Now it's a sanctuary that involves around nature, the palette of green and blue. If you can see the whole place over there, there's a lot of greenery, there's a lot of blue, there's of course all the water that's surrounding it as well, the whole project. Now, another key fact, one very unique facilities that they have inside this project is the unique marine view deck, that hammock that allows you to actually view the corals that's right inside. And the developer has actually taken an effort to actually have engaged a marine biologist to actually look into how they actually can conserve the corals in that area. Now we can see that this whole development is not just all about sustainability, but they're also talking about in terms of how to develop something in line with nature and to how to cohabit together with nature in that particular area. And so that for generations ahead, our future generation will still have actually get access to view of things like that. We do have corals in Singapore and they're actually located over here. So this is something that's very unique to this particular project, floating deck, the corals that's located inside the viewing hammock also as well. These are the two key facts that no other projects actually can give you. In short, what I'm going to say is this is going to be something like I'll say is limited edition, which is not found anywhere else. And that's why the living lifestyle in this particular project is unparalleled to no other places that you can actually find. Right? Not only mention that in this area, right, in this area, you can be assured in terms of the lifestyle you can actually expect. It's more than just a condo, but it's more like an urban wonderland for all ages. Okay, regardless of whether it's for children or whether it's for families, they can be assured that this is a place they can actually call home and feel comfortable and immerse deeply into the lifestyle of the Keppel Bay area. Okay, the home furnishings are actually the appliances that what we're seeing inside are actually top European brands like Miele, Whirlpool, Dombrach, Geberit. All these are top European brands actually that comes in also as well. And also the thing is, we still have got 2-bedroom types. Okay, this is a show flat. This is just one of the 2-bedroom types that we have. It's 764 square feet, which you don't usually find something of this size anymore, right? But in this area, we still have 764 square feet, which is very unique. And you can look at the furnishings are actually done tastefully also as well. And the layout is a little bit very unique, even though some people actually say that why is it that the balcony is triangular in shape? That is actually done in a way to actually to tilt with accordance to the views of the different blocks that can get to view part of the dock also as well. And it also is actually inspired, okay, by the sail of a ship. Okay, so this is what it is. Right, choice units are still available. 2-bedroom starts from about 1.663 million, which is good, a very, very good price for a waterfront living location. Okay, we've got shopping centers, we've got MRT transportation that's nearby, we've got an unparalleled lifestyle over there, and we also have got a floating deck. Now, this already starts from all the way from 1.663 million. Okay. 3-bedroom premium type, that's about 1216 square feet. Okay, we still have quite a fair bit of them over there. So, and this is a very, very good home for families who are looking for space and who have wholesome bragging rights to actually tell people, say, look, I'm living near to the waterfront also as well. So this unit, we still have this layouts also as well. This is a very unique layout that's very comfortable for families. Okay, everybody will have their own space inside here, and there's no issues in a sense also. Okay, choice units are still available. Okay, 3-bedroom starts from 2.64 million, 2.641 million. Okay, and you actually have still got a lot of good choice units available to actually to select from. Okay, if this is not big enough, you can actually go for even bigger one, 3-bedroom villa units, which is the most unique type you can actually find over here, and they're just right in front of the floating deck. Total about 1,345 square feet. More than enough space for everybody to move around also as well, which is something that's very unique. And also most of the time for villa units, they tend to actually hold a lot more better value moving forward in future also as well, because of the closeness towards the water as well. Okay. So at this moment, I've actually finished with whatever I have to because I've been chased also as well, right? So I just want to know whether we have got some time to actually take some questions at this moment. Okay, there's a question that asks about what is the potential rental yield at the Reef. At this moment, if you were to ask me, let's do a comparison with whatever that we're seeing at the nearby projects and neighboring projects like Corals, Reflections, and also at Caribbean. So far, we're actually seeing quite good rental yield over there, approximately about 3%. But moving forward in future with the price appreciation, it might actually change also as well. So it's going to be a little bit more different in a sense. If you're asking me what's the potential, whether the yield will be good or not, I will not be able to answer that because I can't tell the future. But looking at whatever that we're seeing over there, if today at whatever that we're seeing over there as like Reflections, all these, we're looking at approximately a 2-bedroom, we can get about 4,000 plus to about 5,000, depending on the size. I think for the Reef itself, it's going to be not too far from there also as well. I think, in fact, it may actually be even more because in view of its age, because it's newer. Now, there's another question that's asking, as shared by CEO earlier, Reef is about 83% sold. Wouldn't it be at a disadvantage for buyers to buy at this stage with prices up the next notch? Now, when you actually, as per what mentioned by Ismail, my CEO, is that when you buy the property, is like you're going to be buying with a longer term view. So you're not going to be buying on the basis of flipping, but just buying and selling within the next 2 to 3 years. But if we take a more longer term view approach, with the major key transformation in the whole Greater Southern Waterfront, that is going to happen all the way right from now until 2040, I think there are many, many points for you to exit, and with the price appreciation coming in also as well. So once maybe you want to take a longer view, like maybe about 5 years onwards, and see how it goes. And with the transformation coming in, and in 2025 with the MRT coming, with the MRT that's actually looping up the 3 main stations, looping up, that will also actually help in terms of the pricing. So even more so, I think the prices until today the developer has not actually raised the price at as per what the staging prices, that's very high also as well. I think whatever the prices that they're giving is still very, very affordable, and I think it's still very, very attractive at this current moment. So what you can do is probably you can speak to the person who introduced, who brought you here, or maybe you can speak to any real estate agents who is actually marketing this project, and to actually find out a lot more about what exactly the prices are, and see how it goes from there. Okay. Is there any more questions that I should be taking? No? And okay, I think I've come to my end of my segment. Okay, thank you very much for the time, and please mask up and stay safe. I see you guys again. Bye.
Well, I want to say a big thank you to Mr. Gafoor and Mr. Ng from PropNex for sharing with us. I hope that all of you listening to that have picked up some very valuable information. Now, of course, I'm sure all of you are waiting with bated breath for the very last lucky draw for the day to happen. So without further ado, let me bring up the wheel right now. There you go. All right, so those of you who registered for the lucky draw through the link, okay, your name will be on this wheel, and we will be choosing 2 lucky winners of the $100 cash voucher right now. So let's spin the wheel and get it going. Okay, and we're going to find out who is our very first winner of this last session for the day. And it will be Megan. Congratulations, Megan. All right, we're going to spin the wheel one more time and draw one more winner of that $100 cash. And of course, tomorrow we have 1 full day of webinars. Okay, that will be the last day of the Singapore Property Show 2021. If you haven't registered, remember to register for tomorrow's webinar through our website. Okay, our next winner is Jess Louis. Congratulations to our winners of the $100 cash vouchers. Our team from the Singapore Property Show will be contacting you shortly to let you know how you can redeem your prize. Okay, we've come to the end of our 3rd day of the Singapore Property Show 2021. We want to say a big thank you to all of the speakers who have taken the time to share with us their valuable insight, perspectives, as well as valuable information about the property market and the industry. We have more tomorrow and more speakers to come, more webinars, more interesting talks and webinars to share with all of you. So remember, once again, do register for tomorrow's webinars right now on our website. Okay, folks, that's all from us for today. We want to say a big thank you, and we'll see all of you tomorrow. Bye-bye.